Hi, welcome to Community Forum. I'm Karen Antonini, your host for today, and I'm going to be making a milk chocolate cake with a raspberry coulis. So, a raspberry coulis looks like this, and it's a coulis is basically a French term for any fruit or vegetable that has been pureed and strained. And this is a delicious little accompaniment to this great cake. As you can see here, I have a couple little fresh raspberries, my raspberry coulis, and a slice of the cake. So I'm going to go a little bit backwards today, not start with the cake first because I need to have the coulis cool as we are going to make our cake. So I will show you what I need for the coulis. I need, now if you want to double this recipe, this is fine. This makes about a cup. So I have 1.5 cups of my frozen or fresh raspberries. This time of year, it's probably a little better to use the frozen. There's no difference whatsoever, and it's a little more cost effective as they're not always in season. And I've got some water and about 6 tablespoons of sugar. Make sure I have the right, I have lots of ingredients over here. So I am going to take about a medium saucepan like this, just put my raspberries right directly in here. They are defrosted. You have to do that before if you're going to use frozen. Put that over there. And my 6 tablespoons of sugar. And then I'm just going to put that on about a medium, get this burner going, about a medium high heat, and my 1/4 cup of water. So I'm going to just stir that together. I'm going to get this going. I'm probably going to jump back and forth between the cake and the coulis so we can get this all done. But this is really, really simple. So basically what I'm going to do with the coulis is bring this to a boil. And then once it's boiling, I'm going to turn it down to like a low medium heat and let it simmer for about 8 to 10 minutes or until the sugar is completely dissolved. I'm going to use my spoon rest because we've got these berries which will stain. So there we go. So I'm going to turn that up. As soon as it starts to boil, then I'm going to adjust the heat. So you just have it uncovered there. So while that is cooking away, I'm going to keep an eye on it. It's right there. I'm going to start the cake. So this cake is, I'll show you. You can either use, actually, I'm going to show you the finished product right now. I decided to make a heart-shaped bun. I hope it doesn't slide off in light of Valentine's Day coming up. So, but you can also use this, traditionally makes 2 9-inch layers like this. So I just wanted to show you, this is, you can use this kind of cake. You can actually put the coulis in the middle if you'd like, but that's how much cake it will make. So I'm going to push those over there. And to get started, you'll need your mixing bowl, some 2 eggs. I always like to bring them to room temperature. It makes for a little more fluffy cake. Softened 1/2 cup of butter. Also makes your life easier when you're creaming the butter, adding the sugar. Got the sugar, vanilla, and some salt. Cake flour. You want to use cake flour. It's a little silkier. It's a really, really wonderful texture to your cake. And then I have my buttermilk, a cup of buttermilk at room temperature as well, some vinegar and baking soda. Make sure you use baking soda. We're going to do a little, turns into a little science experiment right at the end. So, okay, so to get started, I have my blender here. My blender, and I am going to start with the butter. Oops, put that in the, stick that there, put my butter in this pan. This is a great, easy cake recipe. There's a few little steps, but it's really simple. This is actually my grandmother's recipe. She used to make this a lot. And it's just, the texture is incredible. It's actually, what I love about this cake is it's not too sweet. You could actually have a slice for breakfast if you're so inclined, or as an afternoon snack, or you can make any kind of frosting for it too, if you like to make it a little more sweet. So get all my butter, it's nice and softened. Put that there. And I'm just going to go ahead and cream my butter. I'm just watching my berries. They're getting ready. So this, after I cream the butter, sorry, it's a little noisy. You just want to go ahead and cream your butter first, and then gradually add the 1.5 cups of sugar. So go ahead and do that. And it's going to be very crumbly, you'll see, but that's okay. Just go ahead and just add that in gradually. Okay. The berries are going. As soon as I'm done with the sugar, I'm going to adjust that heat. Make sure you get the sides of your bowl whenever you're mixing, especially as you get towards the end. And make sure all the chocolate's mixed in. Okay, so this is very crumbly. As you can see this, it's going to get lighter as we add our eggs. Let me just pause that for a second. Okay, so you're set with that. Put this away. And I'm going to adjust my heat because the berries they have boiled. They've come to a boil. And I'm just going to adjust that so it's a nice kind of healthy simmer, low, medium. If you can see that, it will allow all that sugar to dissolve. So I'm going to keep that going and just keep an eye. And while I'm here at the stovetop, I'm actually going to melt my chocolate for the cake. So you're going to need 2 ounces of this baker's chocolate, this Ghirardelli I have today, which is really delicious. Either semi-sweet, which is fine, or bittersweet if you like it, depending on how you like your chocolate. I'm gonna watch those berries. Nice healthy simmer there. Okay, and so I've created, whenever you're melting chocolate, you just want to be careful you don't burn the chocolate. So I've made kind of like a little double broiler here with some water in the lower pan, unless you have a double broiler. Mine's a little bigger, so I only need 2 ounces of chocolate. So I decided that's a really easy way. I have this great little smaller saucepan that fits right on top. So I'm going to need this is 4 ounces total of chocolate. So I'm going to put 2 of these squares right in here, and I'm just going to lay them flat so they melt quickly. I'll just turn that up. And I added really hot water to the bottom. I cheated a little, it gets it going faster. So it's already starting to melt. So I just need that melted. That goes pretty quickly. Get my chocolate over here. Okay, everything's going. Now I'm going to add my eggs right into my butter sugar mixture. One at a time, just blend them in. A pretty color. These are nice yellow yolks today. It's really fresh. It's great. Okay, and if you're cooking along, you want to preheat your oven to 375. And then I'll show you how to fix your cooking pan as well, whether you're doing the 9-inch, 2 9-inch round pans, or in this case, I'm doing my heart shape. I'll show you. Got my little heart shape pan right here. So I'll show you. I'm going to grease that. All right, keep this going. Just do your eggs one at a time. Make sure they're fully blended. Mix in there. Mix them nice and light. There we go. And then I'm going to take my cake. Let's see. I have my cake flour. And remove some of these things here. And I'm actually going to get a little bit of, let's see, I'm going to need a little bit of some wax paper, which I'd forgotten. Let's see. wax paper here to put my sifted flour on. So I have it measured out, have my cake flour, and put this here. Let's see. And I'm going to alternate with, once I've sifted the flour, I'm going to alternate with my buttermilk. This is a really great, it's like almost like when you're making a red velvet cake, they have the buttermilk. It just makes for a really, really delicious flavor. I also have my half a teaspoon of salt, just right in there. Get my, see, make sure I don't make a huge mess. This is really silky flour. You can see, put it right into my little sifter, and just going to sift that right over my butter mixture. So get in there. Okay. I need that guy. Okay, so you're going to do this in stages, like I said, with the buttermilk. Give my raspberries a little stir in a minute. And then finish sifting. So you can see it's not too difficult. It's a few little steps, but this is just a great dessert to have. Really fun for Valentine's Day with a nice red color, the raspberry berry flavor, and you can add your own berries on the side. It's really pretty. Or even leading up to Valentine's. I feel like this month is kind of fun, full of love. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to add a little, actually, I'm going to give these berries, like I said, a little stir. Bring them down almost, let's see, a few more minutes. I can see that the sugar has dissolved because I'm going to want this to cool down. Hopefully that cools down for us so I can show you. So I'm going to add this in here. Add a little flour at a time with my buttermilk. And then just keep repeating that process. Already I can see my chocolate starting to melt. That's going to go right in afterwards. So make sure this is all incorporated whenever you're blending. Make sure you get the bottom. There's no little clumps of flour. There shouldn't be because you've sifted. It's a really light flour, but just make sure you use a spatula if you want. I got a new blender. I'm very happy. It blends along the edges nicely, just in case. Okay, add a little more flour. And my buttermilk. Check let's see, this should be about right for might want to take these off. I'm going to take the berries off the heat now, actually, because it is fully incorporated. So it just looks like, I don't know if you make like raspberries for Thanksgiving, it's just kind of boiled down. So I'm going to put this over here, and hopefully that cools off for us enough to put it. We're going to blend it and then strain it in a minute. So once I finish the cake. Buttermilk. Okay. Last little bit, and we are almost there. That's really good. The last of my buttermilk and my vanilla. I need a teaspoon of vanilla as well. Put this in here. Okay, so that chocolate looks like it's melting very nicely. Stick that there too for my chocolate. Adjust that heat. You just don't want to get a steam burn from the lower pan with all the water shooting out. But it's okay. It's locked in there, so that's good. So I'm just going to give it one last little blend here. Okay. So all the edges and add the chocolate. Okay, so that is our batter so far. Looks really good. And now I'm going to make sure this chocolate is melted. This is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take this right off of there. You can see it's nicely melted and it's not too hot because we've just had it there. It just quickly melted that. You can actually use a spatula to remove, oops, I'll see you in the sink. And use my spatula, just put it right into my batter. You can actually melt your chocolate a little bit ahead of time, but just make sure that it's nice and warm. Your water below doesn't need to be boiling like that, just to keep it nice and soft. And that way it won't harden up. You don't ever want to heat the chocolate on a direct heat source because it can harden up. And then if you add water, it will seize. So you just want to make sure to treat it carefully whenever you're melting this chocolate. But it's really easy this way, as you can see. So there we go. Put you over there. And okay, so I'm just going to blend this chocolate. There we go. Make sure I get it all incorporated so there's no marbleized effect, unless you like that. And we're done. So I'll take these off, put my blender over here and my beater, these guys. And now what I like to do with my cake is I definitely need to grease this pan. I'm actually going to get a little bit of butter. It's why I didn't take it out, because I like to keep it hard, because it's easier to then get all the nooks and crannies. So I'm going to take a little bit, let's see, of this butter and just use my hands. Yes, it's messy, but it's the easiest way to do this, and just wash your hands right afterwards. So, of course, it's just a lot easier, because if you're doing a bundt pan, you really need to make sure that it is greased. So just take a little tablespoon and make sure this has a lot of little nooks and crannies. I'm going to show you the form that I used the other day to make a smaller one. Lots of smaller cakes, and there's lots of nooks and crannies, but it's easy. You just get your hands in there. And then afterwards, I am going to use a little bit of flour to dust the pan. It really helps to lift the cake right out after you have baked it. So you have this amazing shape, which is so pretty. Again, you can use your 9-inch pans as well, but I would also recommend definitely greasing them and then adding a little flour. It just makes it a lot easier to remove the cake. Nothing gets stuck. You go to this effort, you want it to work out. So let's see, got all my butter there. So I've got it all. That is well greased. And it's okay if there's a little bit of butter on the sides. You can see it's not, I hope you can see that. There's little tiny bits of it, but that is perfectly fine. I'm actually gonna just toss that, wash my hands, and then show you how to do the flour. So I have a little flour here, and I'll start with about a teaspoon of the flour, just put it around the edges, and then put it, especially the harder edges, around the center. And then take your pan. Some of you may know this little trick, but just with the flour, but just in case, just work it around, and you can do it on the surface. It's gonna fall out. You don't want too much. You just want a nice dusting. And you can kind of help it in some places, just lightly. You want a nice dusting, and the remainder you can just dump out, but it makes it so much easier to get this cake looking good in the end. So I'm just tapping out the excess flour here. There we go. You can add a little tiny bit more to the edge. Whoops, butter. If you see it, just don't be shy, add a little more. There we go. That looks great. So I've got this. This recipe, when you're making it, you want to bake it for about 25 to 30 minutes. And I would recommend filling it, if you're using a little bundt pan like this, about, 3/4 of the way full, because it does rise a little bit. I actually use these pans, these smaller versions like this, which was really fun. So that's more like 20 minutes. But again, if you're doing the 9-inch, it's 25 to 30. Just check. Everyone's oven is different. So just make sure you check and give it a nice one last little mix. Make sure there. So this will make probably 2 hearts. So I can make them just one at a time, or I can make smaller ones. And if you do a sheet pan, you're going to bake it for about 50 to 60 minutes. And this recipe I will be posting in the next day or two, but you get the exclusive first look. Anyone is watching this Facebook live. Okay, so I have a little extra batter left over, and I'm going to bake that at the 375 for this about 25. It does take about 25 to 30 minutes. If it takes a little longer, that's fine. Get your little cake tester, always test in a few spots until it comes out clean. So I will not have time to show you the finished product. I did show you our finished product already. And now I'm going to do the coulis. So get this butter. Let's see. Okay, so the coulis, I think this is cooled enough. I'm going to take my little mini prep, and we're just going to put the coulis, the raspberry mixture that we've made, right in the mini prep. So let me see, need another little spatula. Okay, I hope this is all cooled enough. Let's see, a little warm, but I think it will be okay. Let's see. So there we go. Blend. Let me see, it might be a little bit warm, but I can show you the process. If not, no, that should be okay. Let's see. Start with, put this in. Okay. Now, hopefully that. So it doesn't take, not too hot. Usually you want to let it cool down maybe a little bit more, but it's totally fine. So we're blending this. And then, so this looks really beautiful. Just, you can do it all. I left a little bit because I was afraid it might splatter. So at this point, what you're going to want to do is get a really fine mesh sieve like this, because you're going to put in a little bowl. You're just going to dump the container right in here, and it will catch all the little seeds, because there are a lot. So, whoops, I can just rest that on there. You might have to do it in batches and just let it come out. You can use a little spoon as well if you need to kind of help it. Let's see. There we go. So you can see it already coming out down below. I like to mix it a little bit to speed it up. And if you want, you can kind of scrape the bottom with another spoon to get the drippings. You'll see it will come out. It's a little thick. It makes about a cup. Like I said, if you want, you can easily double, triple the recipe, however much you need. And just go ahead, and I just let this usually sit for a little bit and then come in and stir. And you can see that it's coming out the bottom. And it just is such a great accompaniment to any of these great kind of chocolate desserts. And once that's fully cooled, you put it in the fridge and you can cool it, you can keep it, and it's really great. So I would keep it just tightly sealed in a container. And this is a wonderful little side dish for your cakes. So there we go. You can see it coming out, and then underneath you're going to get a lot of this. So if you're patient, you just let it sit there. And then once at the very end, you will have a little bit of the sauce, but just a lot of the little seeds, and just discard those. Go ahead and discard. So you might want to do this in little batches, but there we go. There's our coulis. I think we're going to have to wait, unfortunately, to make the creme anglaise. That was something else I wanted to show you, but another easy recipe for another time. But I wish you all a very happy Valentine's Day, and I look forward to seeing you next time.